Hi, everybody. My name is Alicia Crank, and I am the ambassador chair with Women's Pro Hockey Seattle. And I am here with my fellow ambassador, Rachel Moody. And we are so excited because today we are going to talk to Hannah Murphy,
Woo!
one of our goaltenders for PWHL Seattle. How are you, Hannah?
I'm good. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Rachel, tell people more about who you are and what you do, and all the things that you do.
All the things. Okay. So, like Alicia said, my name's Rachel. I also am an ambassador for Women's Pro Hockey Seattle, which is a real thing now. So that's super, super awesome. I'm on the board for the. I just went totally brain fart and like forgot our acronyms because now I'm nervous because now we're recording. The Seattle Women's Hockey Club, which is a recreational women's hockey league here in Seattle for women and non-binary folks. Our season starts this weekend. We've got just over 200 people in the club, so super
Wow.
excited. It's a great group. I also just recently joined the admin team for the women's club through Snow King.
Oh,
So that season starts next week. It's a little bit smaller. We've just got 4 teams there.
yeah,
But yeah, both are great groups, and I'm super excited to get our fall seasons started pretty soon here.
nice. This is going to be such a busy season between the
Yes.
Kraken and PWHL and
Oh my
then the
gosh.
amateur teams. I'm exhausted already thinking about it, but in such the best way possible. And I know,
Absolutely.
and I know that PWHL hasn't dropped their schedule yet, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that there's going to be like some back to back games. Like one night will be Kraken, the next one will be PW. It'll give me all the excuse to stay downtown overnight, so have to come back and forth to Edmonds. But I think it's going to be so good.
Well, I can't even tell you how excited our clubs here are to have the team in town. Like, we were kind of nervously joking amongst ourselves on the board. We were like, oh my gosh, when the schedule comes out, we're going to have to see what nights overlap with our club games.
Yeah,
Because I swear, like 3/4 of the club bought season tickets.
yeah.
So when the pro ladies are playing, none of us are going to be available to play in our beer league games. So yeah, no, we're so excited.
So Hannah, I actually had an opportunity to go to the draft. So that was
Yes.
fun. And I had, had my gear on, and I was like, I'm gonna be the official fan for PWHL Seattle when I was there. And you looked great, by the way. Can I
Yeah.
say, look at you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Talk about what that felt like for you. Did you know you were gonna? Did you feel like you were gonna go early in the draft? Like, what were you thinking when you were there?
Yeah, I really had no idea of what kind of team I would go to. I actually didn't talk to Seattle, any of the staff beforehand. So
Oh,
being drafted by Seattle was a complete shock. But I kind of had an idea from talking to other teams that I might go pretty high for a goaltender. And so I was just kind of waiting, seeing what team would be the first to pick me up, and happened to be Seattle, and I couldn't be more excited.
I was super enthused. I actually was hoping that someone had caught me on camera when you were picked second because I was there and I kept saying from the very beginning, I was like, we need to pick a goaltender, and I wanted it to be you. And
Oh
there was a
my
couple of
gosh.
other media folks there, journalists there that came up to talk to me after the first round. And he was like, well, who do you think is going to go to the second round? I was like, it has to be Hannah. I want a goaltender. He was like, they don't pick goaltenders this early. And then we proved him wrong. So, so as soon as you were saying, I was hollering and like, oh my God, I was right. And he looked at me, he was like, so that was just really, it was just really cool to see that you were chosen one, and two, that, you broke the stereotype of not having a goaltender be picked that early.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, and I'm happy to have proved him wrong for you, and I'm glad it all worked out, and I'm looking forward to getting started in Seattle.
So I know that they took talk about that process. So once you were on the stage, then I know they took you guys off to the side, and there was like some other activations happening over there and photos. Talk through that process. What was that like once you get off the stage?
It was definitely a bit of a whirlwind the whole night, especially after getting picked. So I walked backstage, and the first person I saw was Jenna Buglioni, and she gave me a huge hug. We've known each other from playing at different national team camps together. So that was a nice relief to see a familiar face, and she was super excited that we're going to be teammates. And then after that, like you mentioned, we had a bunch of different media obligations, a couple interviews and stuff, and I felt like I was just running around until I was able to go back to the table and see my parents, which was super awesome to finally get to chat with them and debrief about everything that went down.
I know Rachel's chomping at the bit. Go for it, girl.
Oh, I was just taken in the story. No, that's awesome. So I was not lucky enough to be at the draft, but it's really interesting to hear about. So other than like, obviously being selected and everything, were there other parts of the draft that were fun or enjoyable? Were you stressed out? Or like what else did you enjoy about being in Ottawa there for the draft?
I think a lot of the anticipation leading up to the actual draft was the most stressful part. But once we were on site, it was a little bit of a sigh of relief. There was so many familiar faces of girls that I've grown up playing with or against across the NCAA for the most part. So having that familiar aspect was definitely a little bit less stressful once I got there, and just seeing how many fans were able to come out and support the league was really awesome. Getting to meet lots of people and sign lots of autographs. It was just an unbelievable night, and I think the PWHL did a great job hosting us.
I was going to say, I agree. It's like I've been to other larger events before, and I think just all the technology and stuff that was involved with that draft was like flawless. So it looks so professional. I do want to go back to something you said earlier, though. You were talking about, you didn't know it was that Seattle was going to pretty much be the team. Wasn't talking to them or anything like that, but then now it kind of feels like home. And I was just found this image online the other day, and I was like, tell us about this. Like I just found out that, so all of you were captains at one point, and now you're on the same team. What's that like?
Yeah, it's super exciting to be reunited with some fellow Colgate alums. I actually never had the chance to play with Jessie. She graduated before me, so looking forward to playing with her. She's someone that we kind of grew up in the same area, so I've been able to make a connection there and know her quite well. And she's just an awesome player in person. And then being reunited with Danny again, who I was able to play with for 3 years while I was at Colgate. I'm excited to be back with them and looking forward to the year.
Awesome.
Yeah, you've mentioned a couple times now, like seeing familiar faces at the draft. So it sounds like even at the professional level, the women's hockey community is pretty interconnected and stays pretty tight.
Yeah, I think that's just the hockey community in general, whether it's on the men's or women's side. I think everyone always kind of knows a friend of a friend and everyone's interconnected. So being able to play at the professional level is no different. And I think we've all bumped shoulders at one point or another.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I do have one of our friends, Will, ended up sending over a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you. So the one, he actually is thinking about stuff, right? I just want to fangirl out and just hang out. But he actually has a couple of really good questions. So the first one I'll ask you is, what do you consider to be the best part of your game?
I think one thing that I really excelled at the college level was my puck handling ability. That's something that we utilized a lot. And I was kind of able to be a third defenseman and help our team exit the zone quickly and play more offense ultimately. And I hope to use that at the professional level as well.
And then what skills are you still working to develop or hope to develop while you're here?
I think one thing that I've noticed across the whole league is just the amount of screen plays or high traffic net situations across the league, especially as a goaltender. That's super important. And you can really help change the momentum by getting your team a big whistle, a big save. So that's something that I've been focusing on this summer, just honing in those skills of finding pucks through traffic.
Nice.
So like Alicia mentioned earlier, potentially some silly questions. This is kind of a sillier question that I had. So the boys, of course, in the NHL have their playoff beards, right? During playoff season, they don't shave and they get these beards. Do you have any playoff like rituals or superstitions, or like, is there something you think the league should do? Like how the boys have their beards? We need a women's league playoff tradition.
That's a good question. I don't know if there's anything specific that directly translates to kind of playoff beards. I think everyone has their own superstitions that they do throughout games or playoffs. But that would definitely be interesting to find something to do as a team. Open to suggestions, but there's not really anything that I've done in the past.
Cool. That would
You
be
know,
fun.
all right. And maybe something will come out of this next question because we're trying to start a rivalry with Vancouver, right? Like already trying to plant
Mhm.
those seeds. And I know some people are calling it like the I-5-ory because it's Highway I-5 between Vancouver and here. How would you feel about starting a rivalry? Who would you want to like poke at to make sure that that happens?
Yeah, I think rivalries are one of the best things that come out of hockey or sports in general. So that seems like the obvious rivalry that we could get going. And I think as Seattle fans, the best thing that people could do is just come out and support us when we play games in Vancouver. Make it feel like it's a home game for us rather than Vancouver, and that would really get the rivalry started.
And I know we were joking around with Steph earlier before we got on this call, but one of the things that had me thinking about was the fact that again, Seattle has really been leading the way with women's sports in general, and I mean, and not in a check the box way. The fact that that this team is going to be playing at Climate Pledge Arena, just like the Seattle Storm plays there as well, along with the boys. How are you feeling about how Seattle has been welcoming women's teams in general? Because I think you also got an opportunity to kind of visit some places, maybe visit some of the other teams. What's been your impression of how the sports fandom is here in Seattle, especially around women's sports?
Yeah, I think Seattle in general is obviously a huge sports city, but more than that, they really do show up for women and female athletes, which visiting, I was kind of able to get a taste of just meeting people in the community who really had a deep knowledge of female sports and the different teams, and then already knowing a lot about our team, even though we haven't hit the ice yet. It's really evident that people are willing to come out and support us, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, there was even something. I talked with a woman named Erin Morris. She's a college professor, and she was doing some research on specifically women's learn to play hockey programs. And I ended up talking with her because Seattle was one of, I want to say like 30, maybe 32 women's learn to play programs in the entire United States. So I mean, if there's thousands of like co-ed and men's programs, but yeah, there's only 30 something women's programs, and Seattle is lucky enough to have a couple of them. So yeah, definitely a good hub for women's sports around here. And then what were they saying? They said this, Alicia, when we were at the media announcement for PWHL Seattle, that Seattle's the first U.S. city to have professional leagues in 3 different women's sports, which I
Yeah,
thought was a pretty cool stat.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
nothing to sneeze at either.
No, definitely not.
No, and it really is evident when you go out there and meet the people and just the culture surrounding supporting female athletes. It's really exciting to be a part of.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of people and culture, how are you? I know you're going back and forth right now, but how are you? What are your impressions of being on this side of the country? And again, one of the things I was feeling like connected to you about was, I grew up in Michigan, so I spent a lot of time in Ontario, and I was saying Canada never felt like another country to me because door to door from my house to the Ambassador Bridge was 20 minutes tops, and we all shared the same TV shows and stations and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I moved to the West Coast that I was like, oh, it is another country. It is different because now I'm going into British Columbia and not Ontario, which I was thinking about. Have you experienced something similar as someone who grew up in Ontario, went to school at Colgate, which is in New York, so the same time zone, but now you're over here? How's that been
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah, that definitely resonates a lot. I think even going to Colgate, I was considered an international student, but I lived closer to school than a lot of my classmates. I was only about 3 hours away, so it kind of didn't feel too dissimilar from home, but I definitely felt that change when I went out and visited a couple weeks ago. It's completely different culture compared to Canada. It actually does feel a little bit like I'm in a different country, but at the same time, the people have been super welcoming, and that's something that I think will make it feel like home a lot quicker.
And I can't remember, have they had you catch a salmon yet?
No, I witnessed it, but haven't actually done it myself.
You'll officially be a part of this area when they take you down to Pike Place and you have to catch one of those salmon.
Catch a salmon, yeah.
That's
They're
awesome.
coming back. Actually, I just saw a few salmon in the creek literally this morning, so they're on their way back for spawning season. So tell us, like, what are a couple of your favorite memories being on the ice, and just anything, doesn't necessarily have to be your collegiate career. It sure can be though, but yeah, just what are a couple of your favorite, memories or times on the ice that you can think of?
Yeah, I think one of my most fond early memories was the first bus trip my team did on my youth hockey team. We went down to Lake Placid to play in a tournament, and everyone was so excited to be able to take a bus and hang out the whole time that we were driving down, which is really funny to look back on after 4 years of college and kind of taking that for granted as something that maybe we weren't exactly looking forward to on longer travel days. But it really reminds me like how lucky I am to continue to play, and brings a lot of the excitement back into playing.
Nice.
And, we're a little crazy over here if you haven't already figured that out, even in the sports perspective. So I want to shout out another fan person, Kyle, who started this game that's Oops All Goalies. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but it's literally a game where it's all the goalies playing. And
Okay.
I want to say he started maybe a couple of years ago, but it started to expand. Like other cities have started to do it now, but we started first. We had it first.
Yeah.
Have you ever participated in any kind of game like that, or did you hear about it before today, about what that's about?
I don't think so. That's my first time, so I'll definitely have to look it up and learn more about it, but something that I can appreciate as a fellow goalie for sure.
It's
It's
a lot. I
very
don't play goalie, so I can't, like, I haven't participated, but it is so
you
much
have to be a
fun to
goalie
watch.
to
Yes, you
play.
have to be a goalie. Everyone on the ice is in full goalie gear, but there are no goalies in net. So it's just goalies as skaters, and it's just chaos in the absolute best way. It is so much fun.
That's awesome.
Oh, and there's costumes
Yes,
as
costume.
well. I think hot dog guy is my
It's like
favorite.
a hot dog. Yeah,
There's
there's always the hot
clowns
dog
and all
guy.
these things. It's
Yeah.
super fun. So we'll make sure to get you a link to the latest video and stuff. But it's a lot of fun. But
Okay, perfect. I'll have to check that out.
goalies. Let me see. What else do I want to ask you? Because I have 1,001 things I want to ask, but I also don't want it to get boring either. So, okay, I should do something that's kind of civically minded. What would you say to girls and women in the community, whether they've been exposed to hockey or not? How would you encourage them to want to kind of come out and see the team, support the team, or also just to learn more about women's hockey in general?
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know if I have a great answer, but just being able to be a part of the first team and bring women's professional hockey to the Pacific Northwest is super exciting to be a part of. And so if there's young girls that are hesitant to come out and try it, there's no harm in trying it once and being able to be a part of that growth of women's hockey.
And that's right. So you were here for the training camps. How was that experience?
It was awesome. I think there's definitely a lot of excitement, and that was evident in being surrounded by all the campers and such. And I was so impressed by how many had already been to the rival or the
rivalry series.
The rivalry series, but also the takeover tour game is
yes.
What I'm thinking about, and kind of already had specific favorite players and that sort of thing. I was really impressed, even though Seattle obviously hasn't had a team before.
Yeah. Nice. That's one of I don't have kids myself, but I love now my friends who have kids in the area. These little girls are growing up seeing women on the ice, and it's totally normal for them. I was 30 something the first time I saw women playing hockey, and I like literally teared up a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So what was, do you remember, like, what was your first exposure to hockey, and what got you into playing?
Yeah. Luckily, being from Ontario, hockey's kind of all over the place, and I grew up, my whole extended family plays hockey. But one of the first things, actually, my mom started playing when my sibling and I were quite young, and
Oh,
my
wow.
dad would take us to the rink and we would run around and watch her. And she was only doing kind of learn to play and then a women's league. So
Mhm.
she was no professional by any means, but I think that definitely left an impression on me at a young age. And I had those kind of role models to look up to, even though I had no idea kind of what the caliber of hockey was. I was definitely fortunate to have that exposure.
Awesome.
And I'm going to say that's probably one of the other reasons too why I was just so happy that the team's going to be playing at Climate Pledge of all places, because I think there was a mindset, and I'm going to say I had it too, where I was like, oh, okay, maybe the first season they're going to have them at the Angel of the Winds Arena in Everett, which is an amazing arena. It's great. And I think that was the default position for a lot of people. Like, oh, they're probably going to start them there and then maybe do a sprinkle of games there. So to have the team fully committed into playing in the Climate Pledge is such a game changer. Not just here, but for women's sports to say, hey, you know, we can be startup, you know, teams, but still have the same caliber as the male counterparts get, right?
Yeah.
So
And
I
even
just
the practice facility too, because everyone's going to be at Kraken Community Iceplex for their practices, which is awesome. It's such a nice facility.
Fun fact, I work out of there once a week.
That's awesome.
The Wi-Fi there is great. It really is. I could be doing this here right now without any buffering. I hope they don't change that at some point. But it does. I think it says a lot. How serious this town is, how serious the ownership teams are, and just in spirit, how they're all coming together.
Yeah, I think that's something that's unique about the professional sports in Seattle specifically, is just how welcoming all the teams are of one another and supportive. When I was out visiting and helping out with the youth camps and such, we were able to make it to a Seahawks game, and, you know, they were able to honor us. And I know some of the other girls went out to a Storm game, and it just feels like one big community. So it's been great that we've been welcomed already.
Awesome.
One last question for you, and it's kind of open-ended. So we don't know when the first game is going to be yet, but for that inaugural game, when you come into the arena, when you come out on the ice, what do you want to see? Like, what is that thing that's going to make you go, yes? Whether it's someone with a specific sign in their hand, like, what is going to be that thing that you see, or that thing that you feel that you're going to be like, this is where I'm supposed to be?
I think just feeling the excitement from the crowd, whether it's just the sheer number of people or the signs, that's something that's kind of unique to the PW. I think they do it better than any other league. It's the amount of signs that you see at any given game. But specifically for our home opener, I think seeing that support for our team will mean the world.
You are going to see it. I guarantee it.
Agreed.
Okay, everyone that's watching and listening, you have your assignment. You know what we're going to do. And again, I meant to say this at the beginning, but I was like, I just love that just by happenstance that this interview is happening during goalie week, NHL's goalie week. So it's like, I got a goalie. So Hannah, thank you so much for carving out time with all your practices and stuff to chat with us a bit and let us fangirl a little bit. Rachel, thank you as well for joining me on this call. And we will see you and everyone else at the beginning of the season.
Awesome.
Woohoo. Yes, thank you so much.
Much.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.